In this video, we will discuss about the difference between array and array list. And the array and array list are used to hold a collection of data of same data type. So let's get started. First of all, I have divided the section in array and array list, and then I have defined the array and array list in different ways. So I have defined the car array 1 of a type string, and then I have assigned the 3 values to it. And then I have print this car array 1 in our console. At line 11, I have defined the car array 2 in different way. At the time of initialization, I have give the size 3. So then later on at each index, I have assigned the values. At index 0, we have BMW. At index 1, we have Tesla. At index 2, we have Hyundai. And then I have print this car array 2 on our console. At line 19, I have defined the array list named car list 1, and the array list is a type string, and when we define the array list, we have to define the type in a diamond operator. And this car list 1, I have passed the values named BMW, Tesla, Hyundai as an array, and I have used a function called arrays.ArrayList, which convert this array to the list. And then I have print this car list 1 on a console. And here I have defined the list in different way, and I name it as a car list 2. It is of type string, and if you see, I have passed the array, which is car array 1, which we have created here, and I pass it as a array to the arrays.asList function, which convert this array to the list. And then we print the list on our console. And the third way, we have defined the array list, and later on we have add the values to car list 3, and then we print the car list 3 on our console. And the major difference between array and array list is that the size of the array are fixed. For example, here when I have initialized the array with 3 values, so its size get fixed with the 3. Similarly, when I have initialized the array with the size 3, here I have defined the size 3, so it can hold the 3 values, and we cannot add or remove the value from this array or this array. However, the array lists are dynamic in size, so they can grow and shrink. Now let's go here and do an example on it, and I will say car array 2, and if I want to add a new element here at index 3, and I will say Toyota, and when I will execute the code, So it gives me the error that index 3 is out of bound for length 3 at Java 16. So at Java 16 line, when we are going to add new element, so it gives us index out of bound exception. However, it is possible in our array list to add new item. So I will say car list 3 dot add, and I will add new item here, and now let's print it. And if I execute the code, so before in car list 3 we have three values called BMW, Tesla, Hyundai, and when we add the new item to it, its size grows, and then we have four items inside this car array list 3. So basically array lists are managing the array at the backend, and when we initialize the array list, it creates the array of a size 10, and when we keep adding the items to it, when the number of the size of the item grows after 10, so like when we add the item 11, so it will create a new array of a size 20 and copy all the items from the previous array and paste it in a new array, and then remove the previous array. So this is the kind of heavy process going on behind the array list. Now to get the value at a specific index in an array, we have to pass the index in a square brackets. For example, if I say system.out.println car array 2 at index 2, and here I will pass car array 2, and in the square bracket I have to pass the index number, and it will give me the value that are present at index 2. And if I execute the code, so as you can see, car array at index 2 we have Hyundai, right? But in array list, this we can get the value by a special method called get method, which is provided by list, and I will say car and list 3 at index 2, and we have to call the method called get, and here we have to pass the index. And now let's execute the code. So we have a car list 3 at index 2, the value is Hyundai, right? And if I do it like 3, so we have a Toyota. Another major difference between array and array list is that we can update the value at a specific index. For example, if I want to update the value in car array 2 at index 2, and here before it was Hyundai at index 2, now I want to update it with a Toyota. And if I do the copy paste of this and now print the value at 2, I will say after update, and if I execute the code, so in array at index 2 after update we have a value Toyota, before we have Hyundai at index 2. But we cannot update an item in array list. However, we can remove the item from array list, such as car list 3. Now I want to remove the item as a specific index. So for example, I want to remove the Tesla, which is available at index 1. So I will pass the index, and now let's print the updated list, and here I will say so as you can see, we have car list after remove, and before we have a Tesla, now we have BMW, Hyundai, Toyota. So the Tesla is not available after removal. And the list can have a lot of methods like add, get, add all, remove. So all these methods, if you see, like a lot of methods we have for the array list. And this is because if we go inside the array list, it implement the list, and the list implement the list extend the collection class. So the collections have a lot of methods. So all these methods are available for the array list. Another difference between array and array list is that array can have both primitive and object data types. For example, we have a primitive type of array that is integer, and the name is digit array, and I will pass the values like 1 2 3 4 5, right? Similarly, we have integer array of digit array 1, I will say it, and it will have 1 2 3 4 5, right? But array list can only have object data types. For example, if I pass the int here and I will say digit list, so it gives me the error that type argument cannot be of primitive type, right? So for that I have to replace it with its wrapper class. So I will pass it integer here and I will remove it from here. So array list can hold only object data types, but array can have both primitive and object data types. The another difference between array and array list is that arrays can be multi-dimensional, but array list is single dimensional. Now let's go here and create a multi-dimensional array of type integer. So this is how we have created multi-dimensional array. So we have to pass double square bracket to create a multi-dimensional array, and then inside this bracket we have to create a one array and then the second array, and we have to separate them with the comma. To print the item from a multi-dimensional array, we have to pass the index in two square brackets. So for example, I will say system.out.println, and I want to access the item from a multi-dimensional array, so such as 6. So for that I will say 1 and 2. So now if I run the code, so as you can see we are accessing 6. So the meaning of 1 in first square bracket is that to access the array at index 1. So we have at index 0 this array, and index 1 we have this array, and inside this array we have to access the item at index 2, so which is 0 1 and 2. So this is how we can access the item in multi-dimensional array. And now for example, if you want to print the size of an array, so to that I will write system out.println, and I will say size of array, and for example I want to print the size of our first array, car array 1, and here I will say car array 1, and I will call the attribute called length. So now I will run the code. So the size of array is 3, so because we have 3 items in our car array 1. The size of array list, we can call the method called size. So I will say size of array list, and for example I want to print the size of car list 3, and here I say car list 3 dot size. So now let's execute our code, and the size of array list is 3. So as you can see, in array we are calling the attribute called length, right? And it gives us the length of the array. But in array list we are calling the method because it is with the brackets, so it is a method, and it gives us the size of the array list. So these are the major differences between array and array list. Arrays should be used when you are dealing with some constant data, so that you know that your data will not change. So for example, like the name of the planets. So the name of the planets are constant and it will not change. So at that time you should use array over the array list. Also, when you are dealing with some fast processing, use array, because at the time of array adding new items or removing in array list, basically array list create new array at the backend, and it copy all the items from a previous array to the new array and then remove the previous array. So this all heavy processing is going on at the backend of the array list. So it is a better to use arrays over the array list. And when you are dealing with multi-dimensional data, use arrays, because arrays can handle multi-dimensional data, as we have seen in the example. But array list can be single dimensional. And if you have any confusion, leave your comment in the comment section. Kindly subscribe my channel, click on the bell icon. See you in the next video.